Hello and welcome to the Tifo Football podcast. I'm Joe Devine, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Kaya Kaynak.
Hi.
Jon Mackenzie.
Hello.
Reuben Pinder.
One.
And one?
You know,
one. Because you're saying the number of goals that are scored. No, hang on. Points. The points you accrue.
Number of games undefeated for Crystal Palace.
Oh.
I got to 17 and then we weren't able to, so I'm just restarting it.
That makes
Last week I
sense.
said 0 and you just did not register it at all.
You didn't win.
Undefeated.
Oh, okay.
Zero would be undefeated there, of course. And Steve Hankey's here too.
Hello!
Now, here's what we have to talk about on today's episode. Very exciting episode. Liverpool have lost their 4th game in a row. That's where we start. How many of their players are washed and have good or bad hygiene habits? That's right. It's a Gen Z, Gen Alpha chat today here at the Tifo Football podcast. Now, Pood.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that before I said it. Pood is funny though. Podcast.
There must be a podcast named that. There must.
The Poodcast.
A health podcast.
I'm sure there is. Let me just find it.
Men's health.
Poodcast.
Incredibly, the second episode in a row that we're talking about poo.
This is it. The Poodcast is it's a comedy podcast updated weekly. The Poodcast is all about finding the funny side of life when your bum and your tum just won't behave. Evie and Claudia share their experiences of living with gluten sensitivity and IBS. It's less funny than I thought it was, but it is called the Poodcast, which is a terrific name.
Important messaging, though. So.
Important messaging, and kudos to the Poodos. Okay, what's next? How badly can I blaspheme at a house of God? If that makes it into the episode, I cannot imagine that's going to make it in. But if it does, rich motherfucker. Yeah, that's so
we
funny
didn't
now.
talk
Rich
about
motherfucker.
the cathedrals in Liverpool at that point. I thought we were going to talk about that because
I've never been to Liverpool.
You should go to Liverpool and you should go to the 2 cathedrals.
I've heard my wife went to Liverpool about 4 years ago and literally won't shut up about it. She keeps telling me I have to go.
Is it her Warwick Castle?
I think it might be.
So the Anglican Cathedral in Liverpool was designed by Giles Gilbert Scott. He was 22 years old at the time. But Giles
Scott Heron, did you say?
No, that's a different person. But
Oh.
Giles Gilbert Scott is the guy who designed the Battersea Power Station.
Right.
But he was 22 years old. His dad was a famous architect, so Nepo baby and all that.
Sure.
But
I think most people in the past were Nepo babies, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Like in the
most
20s.
people in the present are also Nepo babies.
Not most people.
Maybe we learned something about human society from that. But I
Nepo,
don't know.
yeah.
But then the
Something got cut and it wasn't me. What were you saying, John?
nothing.
Oh. John's been censored while talking about cathedrals. It's because you said a very, very, very bad word.
It's true. It's true.
Alas. Okay. Now, what else happened? Well, how has the negative around Manchester United lifted slightly after their victory over the champions? We come back to crucifixion. There's a religious theme throughout today's episode, isn't there? We talk about crucifixion, and I become confused about whether it's good or bad. We resolve that, though. Then there's the separation game with a new VIA challenge. We speak about Crystal Palace versus Bournemouth, and obviously start running through the bird-related scoring system in golf. And it was a tough time for those tricky trees in Nottingham, right, Steve? Because, of course, we didn't really talk about that. It gets cut off the end of the episode. Steve insists that it'll happen on Wednesday, Thursday. I'm not so sure. I don't know. And also, we played Points Are Bad, and I had a kazinging week with another perfect prediction. I'm so good at that game, except I am second last. So, bit of a shame, really. Is that about everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, on with the show. Where else to begin, of course, than with Liverpool 1 to Manchester United. Now, good Lord, who expected us to be saying that scoreline? Me, I predicted it in Points Are Bad. I can't help myself, Steve. I've already foreshadowed what's later to come, but that's 2 perfect prediction weeks in a row for me. Kazing! Yes, please.
Zing.
Zing is back.
No, kazing. I've adapted it to
Kazing's
say...
not any better.
Yes, it is. It is better. I checked with young people and they said to say kazing.
You just go out to young people on the street asking if Kazing is
No, they were young people in my family. They were on a street, but I asked them and they said, say kazing.
Okay. Did you have your backpack on when you asked them?
Yes.
Okay.
I've always got my backpack on, Reuben. Anyway, Liverpool 1 to Manchester United. It was a very entertaining game of football, I think, and there's lots to pick apart from it. Manchester United, of course, picked up their first back-to-back wins ever under Ruben Amorim, which is a statistic that is still surprising to say aloud as it was to hear it the first time. And also, it was their first victory over Liverpool at Anfield since January 2016, so a very long time. They're also now just 2 points behind Liverpool in the table, which says rather a lot about Manchester United's season, but perhaps rather a lot more about how much Liverpool have fallen off in the last 3 league games, 4 games all in a row. That's some very rotten form. It's the first time they've lost 4 consecutive games in all competitions since November 2014 under Brendan Rodgers, of all people.
That's an Opta Joe stat, and they ended the tweet with sobering.
I mean, it is rather
sobering. Is that worthy of the word sobering?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
Not really.
It's too strong, isn't it?
It is. It's far too strong. They should have said, "What a shame," or something like that.
But it's got to be one word. That's their thing.
Oh, okay. Sad.
That's Donald Trump.
Sad.
They've lost 4 in a row. It's not good.
It's certainly not good. So let's start the conversation by talking about what's happened to Liverpool before later we come on to talk about what has happened to Manchester United, if indeed anything has happened. Kaya, let's begin with you, because something you pointed out during this game was Liverpool's lineup had been switched around a little bit, hadn't it? And starting in place of Ekitike, who I think has had a pretty good start to the season so far, was Alexander Isak, who hasn't had that good a start to his Liverpool career. Didn't seem to quite work in the game, did it? Culminating with him being taken off around 70, 80 minutes when they were chasing a goal.
Yeah, and I think it's important to caveat any Alexander Isak chat with the fact that he's behind everyone else because he didn't train at all in pre-season and hasn't had that chance to build up. But before the game, Arne did say he's kind of up to speed now. It's fair to judge him on his performances. You can't use the whole match fitness thing as an argument against him. But I don't even think that's necessarily the argument against him, because when a player's not match fit, they can still get into the right areas and they can still be in positions where you think, oh, I can see how this is going to work. But against Manchester United, I don't think any of us really saw it. And Liverpool looked a lot better when Ekitike came on, and it's interesting the positions that Isak is taking up when he's in the Liverpool team. So he will, against United, he sort of hung out a bit to the right and was kind of on Luke Shaw the whole game. I wonder if that was a tactic that Arne identified, try and go for Isak on longer balls maybe and try and get up against Luke Shaw, who is deceptively tall actually. He's 6 foot apparently.
I know, it's weird.
I didn't know.
I've thought that before because he's always looked quite stout, I think. But I think he's just quite broad, and so he looks shorter than he is.
Yeah, Isak on the other hand, also tall, but more like my predisposition of lankiness. So I just think that he is adopting, by sort of hanging out to the right-hand side, the positions that you expect Mo Salah to end up in. And when the two have played together, neither have looked like their best selves, like the best 2 forward players in the Premier League last season. And Mo Salah was anonymous yet again. And you mentioned Isak being taken off early for Ekitike, and Mo Salah got taken off when Liverpool needed a goal. That was unthinkable probably about a week ago.
Yeah.
But now we're not that surprised. I don't think anyone was shocked. I mean, I hadn't even noticed it, but I think we were all like, fair enough when he did come off. And I think it was Chiesa who came on for him, and Chiesa's actually done probably more for Liverpool this season in big games. And I just think the Ekitike is more akin to Firmino in the sense he likes to drop a bit deeper and come and link play. And Isak can do that really, really well, but he also likes to go in behind and run into the spaces where Cody Gakpo likes to go when he drifts in from the left, or when Mo Salah likes to go when he drifts in from the right, And I think that's a problem if they're all ending up in the same space. And it's also a problem having Ekitike and Isak in the same squad, because you can't necessarily have these big players, and Reuben was saying this yesterday, you can't have all these big players in the team and drop one and it not be a talking point. So if Ekitike had been, I don't know, a £40 million signing rather than, I think it was 90 million or 80 something.
67, wasn't it?
67, that's a lot less than 90. I don't know where I got 90 from. 67 million.
He's trying to sow seeds of discontent from Arsenal.
But cumulatively, they spent a lot on attacking players.
Exactly. A big signing.
Well, it's worth saying they did show a touch map for Alexander Isak at half time on the Sky broadcast, and it was like almost all in the positions you'd expect to see Mo Salah playing, who again had a terrible game. We'll come on to talk about that shortly. But before that, John, another change to the starting 11 was the absence of Florian Wirtz, who had been a focus of the conversation before the international break. A lot of fans are saying that perhaps like he was the reason, not necessarily himself personally, but his inclusion was the reason that Liverpool weren't quite playing that well in the last few games. They should maybe bench him and go back to the previous system, get McAllister back into midfield. That's sort of what they did in this game. I mean, it doesn't seem like that's the reason.
Yeah, I think the issue with Wirtz is not just a sort of specific position related one. It's a question of what are you trying to do as a sort of meta strategy? Like how are you trying to progress the ball? How are you trying to cause the opponent problems? And last season, I think it was very clear that the way that Liverpool were trying to cause the team's problems was by possessing the ball deep and sort of baiting opponents forward, and then having these trigger moments where they can then have more direct attacks. And that's great when you've got a player like Trent Alexander-Arnold in your back line, because and to an extent, Andy Robertson, I think, is a good progressive passer. But what they've done this season is they've taken, obviously Alexander-Arnold has gone to Real Madrid, but they've taken that creative hub in Alexander-Arnold and moved it into the midfield and in the form of Florian Wirtz. And I think it's quite clear that when you make that kind of big, I mean, I want to keep saying meta, but
when you make that big,
when you make those sorts of meta moves, it changes the way that your team are going to play as a whole, right? So I think a lot of people
you're changing where creativity comes from. In
exactly, and I think
amongst a lot of players who've expected it from one place for a long time.
Yeah, but I think that people don't think about it in those sorts of terms. They kind of think about it in terms of this player in this position is like our new guy, and things aren't going well, so it's therefore his fault. When I think you probably, if you look at it in terms of the big picture, you can say, well, what difference does it make if someone like Florian Wirtz comes in and your creativity shifts into a different part of the field? And when
saw actually, you sent a infographic earlier that was made by Mark Stats. Is it on Twitter?
Mark R. Stats.
Mark R. Stats. The thing I found really interesting about that is you've talked a lot before on this podcast about how Trent Alexander-Arnold was a real focus for ball progression, Liverpool's creativity, and obviously he's gone now. But the thing I found really interesting from that was that Andy Robertson at left back was also like at similar levels of ball progression, who's now been replaced by like both of those fullbacks are no longer playing. That's a complete change to the way that Liverpool generate chances, right?
Yeah, and so basically what this graphic was showing was each position and the players in each position and their percentile in terms of making progressive passes relative to other players in their position. And obviously Alexander-Arnold is right at the top of the right back position, unsurprisingly, but Robertson was right up there on the other side. And then you've got Virgil van Dijk in the middle as well, who's another good progressive passer from centre back. So you've got a back line there of three very good progressive passers, and now you shift to this season where suddenly you go to just having Virgil van Dijk. And I think a lot of what Van Dijk does in terms of his progressive passes is that big switch of play to Mo Salah,
which doesn't work when Man United are sitting on their own goal line.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think for me, that's the big reason why Wirtz hasn't worked is because you've taken all of your progressive passing and you've essentially moved it further in the field into a player who, as we've said on numerous occasions in this very studio, he's a player who I think he's just a final third, high volume facilitator. He likes to just move around, bounce passes, help create spaces for the opponent in the opponent's defensive structure, and then
he created the goal very well. Yeah,
exactly, and that's the kind of moment where you want to see someone like Wirtz. But interestingly enough, in the game yesterday, I thought it was, especially in the second half. So in the second half, because Manchester United started sitting deeper and deeper, ball progression stops becoming an issue, right? Because if they're wanting to make sure they're defending their own penalty box, they're just going to say, "Fine, you have the ball, and we're going to
simply walk
out.
forwards with it."
Those are the moments where you want someone like Florian Wirtz, and what you want him to do is exactly what I've said. You want to just make sure he's getting on the ball. You're bouncing it into the middle, pulling the opponents apart, creating space in what is now quite a tight defensive structure because they've dropped deep. And they just don't seem to use him like that at all. There tends to be this, the direction of passing tends to be towards the wings to try and then cross the ball in. And I think there was a few situations I was watching them trying to break down this low block, and Wirtz is just sort of on the far side from the ball, just sort of hanging out. And I'm just thinking why he needs to be involved. He needs to be close to the ball, receiving the ball, having players around him that can run off him. And like you say, for the goal itself, he was there on hand, just received the ball, took it cleanly, played the ball to the byline, which was where the goal came from. And that's what you want him to be doing. You want him to be facilitating those kind of moments. And a lot has been made of the fact he doesn't have goals or assists, but that's not really what you have a player like Florian Wirtz for. What you have, if he's the guy who's doing the assist before the assist a lot of the time. And I think, until Liverpool are able to really get that out of him against low block teams, this is the perfect situation. This is like the reason why you sign a player like Wirtz is because you say, okay, last season we were we were able to transition quite nicely because teams didn't give us much respect off the ball, which is something that Slot said. This season, teams are sitting deeper against them, and you're like, great, you brought in this player who can break these low blocks down.
Luckily, you've already solved this problem.
Yeah, but they're not utilising him in the best way, and I think this happens all over the pitch. You look at every position and you think, solve this problem, and you'll be fine. You've got the players to do it, but it just isn't happening. Kazing.
On the progressive passing thing, should we not expect more from, or is there a reason why like Gravenberch and McAllister aren't kind of doing that through the middle? Because in theory, they're quite good at it. No?
Yeah, I think last season, no, but this season, what they're doing now is pushing the fullbacks forward, right? They're using flying fullbacks, and I think what that means then is that you have to rely on your pivot players to do a lot more progressive passing, and again, they don't really have that. So, yeah, it's like lots of little knock-on effects all over the place where you can see problems and solutions. If Liverpool had like their sort of more classic 6 profile, then they would probably be doing that, but they can't do that because they don't have one, and yet they don't have the fullbacks to sit and do the progressive passing. So,
Kazing. I mean, we've mentioned the fullbacks there a few times, Kaya. Yeah. That's Kerkez and Frimpong. Both of whom will, seem quite exciting signings. Neither of whom have really seemed to work out just yet, have they?
No, and if you sign one of Frimpong or Kerkez, you can see how that might have worked for Liverpool, particularly with what Jon was saying about shifting the creativity over to the left-hand side. It makes sense to maybe have a more overlapping fullback on the right-hand side, but then at the same time, you're kind of restricting Mo Salah. But also, Kerkez and Frimpong are both players who want to get forward. They're not as, obsessed with progressing the ball or as good at progressing the ball as Jon was saying, Robertson and Alexander-Arnold. Or was that you saying Robertson and Alexander-Arnold? I can't remember. Maybe I'm stealing some good ideas away from you.
Was it a good comment or a bad comment?
Let's go with a good one.
That was me then.
Yeah, it was Jon. And,
it's definitely not Joe.
I think it was Mark our stats, actually.
Sorry, Mark our stats.
Sure,
yeah. But essentially, I don't see how you can have a team where you have a winger in Mo Salah who last season had arguably the best individual season of any player in the Premier League ever.
Yeah.
And the way he did that was by getting to cheat a bit on defence because they had a fullback behind him in Trent Alexander-Arnold who wasn't going to overlap as much. He was going to kind of hang back a little bit and try and dictate the play from deeper. And being able to do that meant that Mo Salah had a bit of space because I think opposition defences were trying to stop Alexander-Arnold and they couldn't maybe double and triple up on him in the way they do other wingers. And now Salah, as you mentioned, Man Utd, are so much deeper, so he doesn't have that space to run in behind. Which means he is struggling to, I think, play to his strengths as much. When he is receiving the ball, he has players who are sort of standing in his areas. Jeremy Frimpong wasn't playing yesterday in a massive game and only came on towards the end of the match. And it's weird that he was essentially a winger at Bayer Leverkusen. Like, he played as a wing-back a lot of the time and sometimes as a winger, and I think plays as a winger a lot for the Dutch national team as well. And to sign a fullback like that when you've got probably one of the best right wingers in world football, last season at least, it doesn't quite make that much sense. And Conor Bradley's been playing a lot recently, and it feels like they're still trying to replace what Alexander-Arnold gave them because they had a formula that worked last season and they tried to change it and they've realised it hadn't worked, which is why Szoboszlai has ended up at right back a lot this season and done quite well there. But he's trying to recreate what Alexander-Arnold did, and it feels like Liverpool haven't found a way to. They tried to evolve, but then in trying to do so, they've ended up going back to what they were doing last season. But they can't go back to what they're doing last season enough, because that kind of stops them from evolving in other places. Yeah. And the fullbacks are a real symptom of that, where they've signed lots of attacking players, but the balance is still an issue. And there's so many... The first goal is a really good example of, it's very early on, but just teams in transition just running straight through the heart of the Liverpool team. And there's sort of kind of Van Dijk and Konate on their own trying to have to deal with it. And fullbacks aren't there to help them. And Kerkez has struggled and has looked to shadow the player he was at Bournemouth last season. Frimpong's had injuries, so it's harder to judge him, but they just haven't had that strength of attacking and progression outlet, but also defensively they look a lot more vulnerable, and I think their decisions at fullback are a huge part of that.
It's quite confusing, isn't it, Reuben? I mean, we've mentioned so many new players being added, presumably also quite a lot of big contracts. What do you make of it? Do you think there's, because I think there probably would be like it will take some time for the dressing room to settle when you add all these new people.
Yeah, it's going to kind of change the dynamic of the dressing room for sure, in terms of who is the star, especially with Isak coming in quite late and then taking a while to get up to kind of match sharpness and still not hitting the ground running. The dip in Salah's form is an interesting one because it sparks conversations that I don't think anybody would have seriously suggested last season that they should have let him leave at the end of that contract and that the renewal was the sensible thing to do. Yeah. However, now when you look at the kind of balance issues that have come with the new attacking signings and kind of the right-sided stuff that Kaya's been talking about, there is a kind of retrospective. Maybe it wouldn't have been the worst idea to end that partnership while they were ahead rather than kind of let it go wrong.
Would you like to hear a young person's joke?
Go on.
Why is Mo Salah so clean?
Why is he, Joe?
Because he's washed.
Nice.
He's washed himself.
Yeah.
And so he's clean. Would you like to hear another joke?
Yeah.
Why is Virgil van Dijk so clean?
Because he's washed.
He's washed also. I think, to be honest, it's very important to wash. So I don't understand what these young people are saying. Washing is a bad thing. It's like when I was a child and we said Wicked was good, It's just mind-bending, isn't it, Reuben?
Peak being bad as well. That's a...
Peak?
Are you not familiar with that?
Is peak
slang?
bad?
Yeah. Have you?
No, I don't know about peak. Yeah. What's peak?
Peak is bad. Also, I thought washed is like washed up kind of thing. As in like
he says
washed up on the rocks.
Yeah.
Right. You've washed up.
Like you've washed up ashore. You washed up on the rocks.
That's surely a good thing. If you were stranded at sea.
If you're washed out, it's like all of the colour has gone from
washed out. Yeah. I see.
I think it's like that.
Yeah. Okay, I understand. What's peak?
It's just a way that it's a London slang word for when things go wrong. It's obviously like wicked being good is ironic.
Did it used to be good?
Yeah, you'd say that was peak Didier Drogba right there.
Yeah. But then if something goes wrong and you're like, oh, that is peak. That is. It probably does stem.
Is it EAK?
Yeah. In the same way that the word wicked came to mean good.
Well, awful is an interesting word, isn't it? Because
awfully good.
Awful used to mean worthy of awe. So you would, exactly.
Or
so you'd look at I don't know, a massive cathedral and be like, oh, that's awful.
Yeah.
And now that just sounds weird to us, right?
No, that's still what I say when I pass. It's one of my favourite things to do on holiday. This is genuinely true. You know this because I send you videos whenever I visit churches. One of my favourite things to do on holiday, Steve's going to cut this, is go and visit the local church or cathedral, or in some cases Duomo. And I like to go, let's go look around, and then I pay money to go in and look at stuff. And then very quietly, because it's always quiet in those places, when you're inside a church and you can see, you get up to the front and then there's special crypts where that rich people of the past have paid a lot of money for positioning in the crypt to be close to the pulpit, to be close to the priest, close to the action, basically the heart of the church. I get up really close to the crypt and then I whisper, he's stupid.
You blaspheme in church.
It wasn't worth it because you're dead.
Speaking of paying a lot of money to be close to the action, Liverpool signed a few attackers.
Rich mother,
didn't they? Yeah,
they signed a lot of attackers in the summer, Reuben.
As Kaya mentioned, 70-odd million on Ekitike, 125 on Isak, and 100 plus 16 on Wirtz. Now, Isak and Ekitike, I feel like are strikers who like to drift left. Obviously, Isak was kind of deployed towards the right, which we've spoken about with Salah. The main problem with this, I think, is one that you only really get at elite clubs as a manager, which is the politics of picking your best team. Because the attackers that they had last season, while all very popular among the fan base, the three who left, Luis Diaz obviously went to Bayern, Darwin Nunez went to Saudi Arabia, and Diogo Jota tragically died. They were all very popular. But if one of them was on the bench, it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
Whereas if you sign Isak and Ekitike sits on the bench for the entire season and only comes on, and when he does come on, looks better than Isak, that is a big problem because Slot may want to rotate and drop Isak and start Ekitike through the middle for a sustained period. But then the story becomes you've got a £125 million striker sitting on the bench. As it kind of has become with Wirtz, which is you spent all this money on a number 10 and he doesn't even start because it feels maybe a bit like the domino effect of Wirtz starting causes more fragility in the rest of the team. But then he always ends up coming on. So it's not only about the fact that they've unbalanced the side with their transfer activity. It's the kind of dealing with the media reaction to any team selection decisions that follow from that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, John, just generally, there are a lot of tactical issues with the team. I think we've covered some of them already, right? But it's a little bit tricky to understand.
And I think it's worth mentioning as well. There were issues last season, and I think last season it felt as though when we talked about Liverpool, their fans were always like, "Why are we always felt a bit muted about them. We didn't go overboard in our praise a lot of the time last season, and I think that was because we anticipated a lot of these issues, and maybe it is
I didn't
the case.
see any of it coming.
And look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we were like, obviously, it's going to go this badly this season.
No, but I want you to know that if you're going to brag, you have to say I and not we.
I'm not bragging. I'm not bragging. My point is merely that there were signs of this last season
that you spotted.
And last season, people would say these issues aren't issues because.
X, Y,
I mean,
Z.
for example, the great one is the Liverpool's out of possession was a little bit off, but they kept getting away with it because Virgil van Dijk had an all-timer season.
Yeah.
This season, he's not doing that so much, right? We saw it at the first goal yesterday. You're seeing issues that are caused by decisions made by some of the players that were great last season. Mohamed Salah missing a massive chance at the back post that last season you would have expected him to put in.
Yeah.
If your system is being carried by players having to perform at a peak level, and now they become peak.
Wait. Oh no.
Then I think there's an argument to be made that those tactical issues sort of become much worse, and that's the reality of what happens in a tactical system. Your tactical system is only as good as the players within it, and I think what we've seen now is with the drop off of some of the key players from last season, some of those problems that I think were already there from a structural point of view have been augmented this season as well. So And on top of that, there's the fact that it does feel as though there's been like quite a big shift in terms of what Liverpool are trying to do this season compared to what they tried to do last season.
Yeah,
and the result is that they've ended up like sort of doing everything that they were doing badly rather than just a few things just going wrong. So
they're now so light at centre back as well that they can't even really change that if they wanted to.
I know you're not bragging, but look at the camera. Look down the camera. Just have a quick look down that camera. You know, you can see it there. Just look at it. Just look at it. Just look directly at them and just nod a little bit. And then bring a fake cigar up to your mouth and go, puff on it like Popeye.
That would
like
be a pipe.
Yeah. He's calling you a
We need to gift that, please.
Get those shades that drop down.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on from Liverpool, who are rubbish and obviously aren't going to win the Premier League, clearly, to Manchester United, who are completely reborn and will win the Premier League. I think that's the answer. Or not so. I found this tweet interesting from H. Not H from Steps. H from Twitter instead, who said at half-time, "I can't believe how bad Liverpool have been." Now, I include that to preface this conversation now, because I think Manchester United were pretty good, but as evidenced by their own fans, weren't like exceptionally better than they have been in other games this season, right? Like this was probably a performance that was a bit more comparable to that Arsenal one, for reasons that maybe will be obvious as we begin to discuss. But let's start there, shall we? Kaya, Reuben, I don't know. Would you like to pinpoint any players that had a good game in this game? Like who do you think did well?
I thought Matheus Cunha had a really good game, just like he did in the Arsenal game actually, and he's kind of a symbol of a lot of the signings that have come in for Man U this season. It's definitely a positive for them because there's been a lot of negative itty and
Negative itty.
Yeah, and a lot of that has focused on Benjamin Sesko and his slower start, but actually he's looked okay these past couple of games. But the other signings they've made have performed pretty well. Like Brian Mbeumo's done well. Matheus Cunha did really well. When he's not been injured, he's looked like a player that Man U have needed in the sense that
he keeps calling them Man U. Again.
Oh my goodness! Sorry, Manchester United.
It's because he's deliberately trying to upset
say
people
Man
from
United.
The past.
Man United. Yeah, I know. It will just take.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
United.
it's fine. Manchester Reds are a team who have signed a lot of good players this summer, and I think the criticism in the past of previous Manchester United signings have been that they haven't been able to perform straight away. So, like Casemiro, for example, came in and was almost instantly disastrous, and same for Anthony. Whereas the signings who have come in this year, Cunha and Mbeumo, the players, even Lamens, who I thought was pretty decent yesterday.
Yeah.
Those guys have made impacts on the team and kind of calmly and under the radar, which is kind of what Manchester United need.
Yeah.
They're a club who are so surrounded by chaos that they need players who are a bit sort of just solid. And that's what the signings, I'd probably say, maybe Sesko aside, although I think he's not been as bad as people say,
sure,
have actually given them so far. And I think they gave them that yesterday as well, which was a big part of why they won the game.
Yeah. Do you want to hear a new chant I've come up with?
Go on, yeah, I love it.
I just came up with it just now when you were listing names. Just because the syllables within these new signings, some new signings, fit perfectly with this tune. It goes, Brian and Burma, Mateus Cunha, Mason Mount. You like it? Yeah?
I don't think it'll catch on.
I do like that, and it's a good point, actually, because I think they look better with that front three.
I agree.
Than with Sesko playing.
Tell me more.
Which, going back to what I was saying earlier about spending lots of money on attacking players and then suddenly realising that they can't all play together in this system is potentially a problem. I wonder how much that has to do with the fact that they have, when they're playing underdog football, and you have like Cunha and Mount both kind of doing a lot of off the ball work that maybe Sesko wouldn't be as good at. Maybe that's harsh on Sesko. I don't know. It feels like it's very much an out of possession bonus to play that front three than an in possession one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's potentially an issue.
Well, he's probably not a starter, is he? That's the other thing. I think because he costs a lot of money, the expectation is that he starts immediately. But from the selection so far, it seems like he starts games you would expect him to start against teams where Man United will be expected to do something different. I didn't for a second think he would start this game, and he didn't start the Arsenal game, which is obviously the first of the season.
But... And as Manchester United Football Club that we're talking about here,
Man U Football Club, as Kaya says,
being as big a club as they are, but kind of as bad or underachieving as they have been in recently, it is good to have those two options.
Yeah,
because you need to be good at playing underdog football in games like this, but then you need to be able to dominate or have a different plan when you play teams who are going to do that to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably...
We've floated around it already, John, I think, but like the strategy for games like this one, and perhaps like the Arsenal one as well, is to be a bit chaotic or to kind of try and encourage chaos in the opposition ranks. I'm curious, like, how... Maybe sustainable is the wrong word, but like how applicable, to Reuben's point, that is across the season. Because something you said to me last night was you sort of fully expected them to have a better performance against Liverpool. You didn't necessarily think they would win, but you weren't surprised they played better or looked better.
Yeah, and I think that's just been the reality of Manchester United over the last few seasons, right? Like Erik ten Hag would beat better sides quite regularly. And part of that's down to the fact that they are able to play underdog football, and they have the underdog football may be the wrong word, but like play a game where they are expected to have less possession. If we sort of just cycle back and talk about like what is it that Manchester United, because it's hard to, when you're analysing a game like yesterday, and I covered the game for us, and I've done a video this morning, it's often hard to sort of talk about it in terms of the tactics, because a lot of the time the tactic is to just destabilise. And because I think when you're playing against elite sides, teams like Liverpool, you expect them to try and control the game, and the way that they generally do that is through imposing structure both in and out of possession. So the idea is that if you can get a decent structure in possession, it's going to be easier for you to hold on to the ball. If the more you have the ball, obviously the more likely you are to at least be in a position to generate more chances. But also the other team doesn't have the ball as well, so if you've got the better players, you want to have more of the ball, you want to try and control the game. And yeah, when you're in possession of the ball, you're often structuring yourselves to be well positioned out of possession as well, so that if you lose it, you can win it back. That requires time and for your players to get into good positions. And I think if your opponent is just constantly just immediately going long. So Manchester United, if you look at the Senna Laman's pass map yesterday, like his average pass distance was 54 meters or something, which is
some of them were just yeets as well.
Everything was just go long. Which, and you look at that and you kind of think, okay, what's the plan here? But the plan here is precisely that the Man United players know that they're going to go long. They're going to try and bait the Liverpool line forward. The defensive line for Liverpool know that the ball's coming back the other way. So you're stretching the play massively. You're pulling the opponents apart. You know you're going to go long. And so what you do is you start structuring your teammates, the Manchester United players, to win second balls. And you introduce that chaos so that when the breakdown occurs, so when no one has possession really, you're probably going to be slightly better structured than the opponent to deal with that. But the opponent can't ever get into their neat and tidy structures to do the things that they train for week in, week out. And
it sounds a lot like the Mel Gibson tactics in the film Braveheart.
Yes.
Would you say that's true?
Yes, definitely.
To unsettle settled defences.
Yeah. And, it comes...
Sounds a lot like the Mel Gibson tactics in the film The Patriot.
I thought you were going to say The Passion of the Christ.
Not so much that one.
Destabilise the opponent with a good crucifixion every now and again. But yeah. And
he called it a good crucifixion. He hates Jesus, Steve.
I think the crucifixion being considered good is a central tenet of Christianity, to be honest.
Oh, that's true, because if it hadn't, then you wouldn't.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I'm with you. Okay, so I misunderstood that bit, Steve. Carry on. What were you saying? Makes so much more sense now.
Yeah. Something got cut. And it was
you're on your own with that one.
The spear that went into the side of our Saviour.
Oh, good Lord.
Where were we?
You were talking about Mel Gibson, I believe.
I think so, yeah. And then you interrupted me to talk about Manchester United's tactics.
I wanted to get us back on track.
Yeah.
No, you were talking about them like deliberately unsettling.
What I've learned is that one team can have the ball, neither team can have the ball, but both teams can't possess the ball at the same time.
That's definitely true.
That's what I've learned so far.
Well, it's good we got somewhere. But the point, I guess, is that you make these games chaotic because, and Jurgen Klopp used to say this when he was at Dortmund of games against Bayern, which is we drag them down to our level by playing in this way. Yeah. And I think you could see that yesterday was that it felt like a more even game. Now, obviously, if you look at the chances created, Liverpool did generate a lot of chances as well. In playing in this way, making the game more open, increasing the spaces that are available against a team like Liverpool is a dangerous thing to do because they have the players to really cause you problems in those situations. And, there's plenty of outcomes yesterday where Liverpool actually won that game as well. But the point is that for Manchester United, they're happy with that sort of grand equation. They're like, okay, yeah, maybe we win this 30 times out of 70. Yeah. We're happy with that because if we try and play on their terms, it's probably closer to like 90-10. So it's one of those ones where I think it's a smart way of playing. But I think people look at it and they say, well, you look at the expected goal numbers or whatever, or you look at the way the game panned out and you think last season maybe Liverpool would have won that comfortably, but they didn't. And Manchester United have got 3 points at Anfield, which is something that not a lot of teams do.
It is worth saying though that every time Liverpool threw 8 players into the United box, they could have scored. I mean, they had so many big chances.
They put up 2 expected goals, but didn't Gakpo hit the post from like 2 quite low value?
They hit the post 3 times.
It was nearly 3. It was 2.78 expected goals or something. And those 2 came in the last 30 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I think there are a number of possibilities in which this game finishes 3-1 Liverpool, and we're having maybe a slightly different conversation. Yeah. Maybe it's like, can they keep getting away with it? With Man United, it's like, I heard like a lot of discussion of how, and I do want to say, I thought their players played well, and I hope this is a confidence builder for them as a team. I heard the description that they didn't fold defensively. I think there were parts of the game where they folded defensively. I think there were parts of the game where Liverpool 100% should have scored goals and didn't, and they got a bit lucky. And I don't think Reuben Amorim or any of the players are looking at that game and thinking anything other than that. They'll be happy they got the win and they went out and did presumably what they were trying to. But I don't think anyone can watch that game and say that Man United win that more than 3 times out of 10, 4 times out of 10.
I completely agree. Nice for Harry Maguire as well to score the winner, having missed an opportunity at the same end the last time United went there at 2-2. Yeah. And he looked thrilled, didn't he? He did 2 celebrations. He went and did a knee slide one way and then went towards the away fans. Yeah.
The Bruno Fernandes volleyed cross for that goal is just outrageous.
And that's the sort of thing that you get from like a kind of freakishly talented but slightly unreliable player like him. He's lots of crosses into the box, lots of them come to nothing occasionally because he's got the talent. He puts in one like that. And that's the luck that you need in these games that, got them the win, like you were saying.
I love Bruno Fernandes. I think he's much maligned. Yeah. I think people read him off his sort of like Aggie.
His attitude.
Yeah. But I think if you actually consider the fact that he has essentially run that team for so many years now, and is the difference between them finishing almost every season like 5 places higher than they usually do. Then
every game he does at least one thing that is incredible.
Like, do you remember the goal he scored against? Was it the City? They beat City and they had like 2 chances, and one of them was he just received the ball and just. It was in his own half, nearly. It was like the halfway line, and just first time, bang.
That was against Liverpool.
Was it Liverpool?
Yeah. At Old Trafford. Yeah.
Those those moments, I think people don't understand like how difficult. And again, the same as like with the volley back across. He's putting it in an area, right? He's not aiming for Harry Maguire, but if you look, there's 3 centre backs, I think, at the back post, so he's aiming for that area. But to be able to do that first time and get it absolutely perfectly weighted, those are the things that people don't, I think, appreciate about a player like that, where to get that right is way harder than scoring the header, for example. Yeah. And he does that. He just does that all the time, and he's always there to change games where nothing's happening and just have that one moment where in a low-scoring sport like football it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I'm very proud to be the Bruno Fernandes of the separation game. Just every week showing more and more of my qualities. Reuben, set me up, please.
Okay, let me open my Slack chat with Steve Hankey. We're going to keep the Via this week.
Oh, we're keeping the Via.
Keeping the Via.
Okay, yeah.
People liked it, I think.
Great.
So we're going to do 2 teammates again.
Okay.
To bookend the route.
Got it.
So we're going to go with Danny Welbeck.
The incredible Danny Welbeck.
That guy Welbs.
That guy who gets better every year, Welbs.
Yeah, that guy who had an injury-ravaged 20s and now is peaking in his mid-30s.
I think he's on track to score more goals in his 30s than in his 20s.
Yeah.
Not peaking, though, guys. Just want to be clear, because that's bad.
That's
bad now.
Sorry.
Right?
Peak is bad. Peaking is... That's fine.
Peking.
That's also bad. You're not allowed to use that anymore. I think we call it.
He's had a wash,
Beijing.
And now he's
he washed earlier.
Yes.
But now he's just dry. Is he? Or is he dry? Or?
Toweled off.
He's toweled off.
Dry is bad as well, I think.
Yeah.
Who's the other player?
James Milner.
Oh,
who incredibly we've not used yet because it kind of feels too.
I feel
obvious.
like we use him every week, do we not?
But
Maybe
we just
use him as a player to go through.
We mention him as a potential because he's played with everyone for so long.
Who's the Via?
Anton Ferdinand.
Oh my good lord. Okay. All right. I believe this is possible. I mean, I'm certain it is.
Confirm it's possible.
It'll be pretty tough for it to not be possible.
All right, we'll go to a break. And when we get back, hopefully we will have discovered whether it's possible.
Already.
And cease! We've returned. Reuben?
You seem baffled by the fact that Kaya found somebody who played with Anton Ferdinand and Danny Welbeck.
I just don't believe that there is anyone who played with Anton Ferdinand and Danny Welbeck.
There is.
Well, I can't wait to find out.
Yep.
Kaya claims to have done it palindromically, if that's an adverb. With one.
It's not technically a palindrome.
Why not?
Well, because the first and the last things aren't the same.
That's true.
You don't know my player yet.
I do know who the first and last player are, though, because one of them's Danny Welbeck and the other one's James Milner, and they're different people.
They are different people. However, they play together, of course, now. Kaya, give us your route.
No, I want to go first because if he's beaten me, then I don't want to reveal mine afterwards.
Okay, yes. All right, good point.
Have you even finished, John?
Yeah, I'm just going to steal whichever one you've got between Anton Ferdinand.
How many links have you done?
He hasn't finished.
I've got one link between James Milner and Anton Ferdinand.
Oh, we've all got that. That's easy, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but like...
Okay, take it away, Joe.
Okay, fine. I'm starting with Welbs, going through Manchester United to Rio.
Yeah.
Then I'm going through.
And they play together in the back garden. I think this should be a rule.
You can include that garden if they're siblings.
Yeah, I think so.
No,
that's the route I've done.
Instead of that garden, I've used Jermaine Defoe as my bridge at West Ham because he played there with Rio and he was still there when Anton Ferdinand started. So he's my bridge. And then Anton played at Sunderland with Simon Mignolet, who played with Milner at Liverpool, of course.
Okay, yeah, that's nice.
I've got a different...
I can sense Reuben checking.
I am checking
whether Jermaine Defoe and Anton Ferdinand.
Jermaine Defoe's final season at West Ham United was 03-04.
Yes.
In the second tier.
Mm-hmm.
Anton Ferdinand's first season at West Ham United was 03-04.
Oh, there you go.
Did they play?
I'm just checking.
Did they play?
Yeah, they played.
Yeah,
together.
Yeah, they played together.
Yeah,
Defoe left half midway through, did he?
They still play together. That's fine.
They still play together. They all play together. All right.
Well done.
Pretty good route, and it wasn't a pathetic palindrome either. It was a real route.
But it did include a goalkeeper.
He did include a goalkeeper, and it included two players at the same club. But it's still better than a palindrome. What? Come on, prove it to me.
Do you want to go, John?
I did the same as Joe, but I had
it.
Sean Wright Phillips between Ferdinand and
that's nice.
Milner.
So you had Welbeck and Rio.
Yeah.
Rio.
Back garden
with Anton.
Yeah.
And then
he's
Anton
just making it up.
Played
He's
with
just
Sean
listened
Wright
to what I
Phillips
said, and now he's making it up.
Yeah,
Don't listen to him,
I think
Reuben.
no goalkeepers and a nice back garden. You don't get often.
I wish there was something to throw. I really want to.
The back garden, I think, is an undervalued
Steve, can you get me
aspect.
something to throw?
An undervalued.
We don't know that the Ferdinands had a garden with space to play football.
They did. They played together.
They're from London. No one's got a garden in London.
Yeah, they played in open grass spaces.
That's not a garden.
Yeah, but that's
You said a garden.
no. I treat it as a garden. It's a.
You
cipher
specifically said
for a
back garden, though. That would be a
Yes.
front garden.
They actually did have a back garden. They played together.
I've been outside with John, and it is true that he treats every public space as if it was his garden. Having a barbecue wherever you want on the tube,
true,
huh? Anyway, I was
Anyway.
speaking to an American the other day, and
Anyway.
I was in a taxi cab, and I said they were texting me, and I said no. They said, "Are you commuting home?" I said, "Yeah, I'm in a taxi cab," and they went, "Oh, no tunnel for you," because they thought it was called the tunnel.
Instead
the
of the
tunnel.
That's funny.
It is funny.
Yeah, it wasn't worth stopping the show for, though, was it? Go on.
I agree.
It 100% was. Thank you very much. Yeah, please,
Okay.
go. Please continue.
I have a goalkeeper.
boring,
Oh,
boring,
boo.
rubbish.
They count as two.
Kazing.
Yeah, Kazing. It's a goalkeeper you mentioned.
What, Simon Mignolet?
Yeah, he played with Danny Welbeck when Danny Welbeck was on loan at Sunderland.
Yeah, that's...
With Anton Ferdinand.
that's such a-
yeah.
And played with James Milner at
On
Liverpool.
loan. Disgusting.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's invalidated.
Well,
I think
since
so.
when?
Goalkeeper should be worth 2,
Mhm.
and loan should be worth 2.
And back garden should be
technically-
worth none.
No, back garden is. Yeah, I think back garden is.
I don't think loans... What's wrong with
Yeah, I
using a
disagree
loan?
about loans.
No, loans.
Loans are kind of deeper knowledge, I would say. So I think
I
loans
looked
count
up
as
on
one.
Wikipedia as you all did.
I
like,
think we should start counting
I
goalkeepers.
what
as
you
two.
used Wikipedia
To find
That's
out which
cheating.
clubs they
I
played
use
for.
my brain. I just think I'm like, yep, that's when those players
Go
played
back to the
together.
back garden, yeah.
Honestly.
Okay,
'cause,
well, the route that I came up with yesterday was the same length, but wasn't palindromic. I had James Milner played with Lee Bowyer at Leeds United. Lee Bowyer played with Anton Ferdinand at West Ham. Anton Ferdinand played with Kieran Richardson
Oh.
at Sunderland,
Yeah,
who also played with Danny Welbeck at Sunderland,
right.
not at United.
Did they not cross over at United?
No, that's the annoying thing.
Right.
So I have used the same club.
You've used loan.
So I think you won. Oh no, I won. I think I won.
I won. You
What?
stole half of mine.
Why have
No.
I not won?
Because you've
Because
been
you
discounted
cheated.
for cheating.
You used goalkeepers and loans,
Kaya has one.
and there was no back garden.
You both used a goalkeeper.
You used the same goalkeeper as me.
Shut up, Kaya. Get back in your box.
Kaya wins. Well done.
Boo!
Boo.
What's the thing you say? Like hated, adored, always ignored.
Hated, ignored, never adored.
That's it, yeah. I'm feeling that right now.
Palace 3 Bournemouth.
What a game.
What a game! Very bizarre game, wasn't it? Arguably the most exciting of the Premier League season so far. It was at Selhurst Park,
It was.
wasn't it, Reuben?
I was there.
Bournemouth took a seemingly commanding, right, Steve Hankey, 2-0 lead.
Bit of Hankerlees to get us in the
It
mood.
seemed commanding. The key is it wasn't commanding. Palace came flying back to make it level. I expect
It's
he
the
said
Eagles,
that because
yeah,
of an
exactly.
Eagles reference. I'm glad. Oh no, here it is. I was about to say I'm glad that he's changed the first draft, but no, it's still here. However, he writes, much like the Eye of Sauron stopped the Eagles from flying straight to Mount Doom, Crystal Palace were unable to complete the turnaround and get past 3 points. So can I just say for any listeners at home who are still confused about Steve Hankey's role here and think that Steve Hankey is desperately trying to keep us on track as often as possible, he's the biggest troublemaker, including Sauron here. Now, Reuben, flowers for Mateta, I think, are
Yeah.
deserved. Right, a hat-trick, but also some big messes.
Yeah, it's actually ridiculous. Like to come away from that game, not disappointed with a hat trick, but thinking that could very easily, maybe should have been
Yeah,
4 or 5
a
goals.
quack trick.
There's a great video taken from the Homesdale end, the opposite to where he missed that last second chance. And you can see Gay, Lacroix, Wharton and Kamada all kind of collapse to the floor in shock at the miss, which, the ball was bouncing, but it was 0.7 something.
Oh,
It was like a penalty, 0.67 XG. It's like the same as a penalty. So he should have scored that. But that felt like the only chances Palace really created, and they all seemed to come in the second half. It was a very chaotic game, as you'd expect. Bournemouth, as John has been, saying for a long time, absolute demons out of possession. Palace could barely settle with the ball in the first half, but in the second half, I'm pretty sure Palace swung the possession stats back in their favour. So Bournemouth dropped off a bit, but then did pierce the bubble of joy with that 3-2 goal from, was it Alex Scott who scored the? Tavernier got the assist for
Christie, I think, for Bournemouth.
Ryan Christie, that was it, to put Bournemouth 3-2 ahead. But thankfully there were 8 minutes of added time. But yeah, like ashamedly, slightly ashamed to admit that my friends and I during the game were worrying about Mateta. We were worried that his purple patch was was coming to an end. Has he lost the magic? Then he scores 3 goals.
Yeah.
So fair play. And
It's pretty deep purple.
yeah, a lot of them come from the right hand side, whether that be Sarr or Munoz. Like, seems to be quite a key tactic of get the ball to Mateta, get the 10s around him, nice and close. They get the second ball. Munoz bombs forward, squares the ball, and Mateta gets on the end of it. And you know, it's a routine that has worked very well, and hopefully continues to do so. I just worry about being overly reliant on Munoz, given that we have no backup in that position.
Bit of a shame, really, isn't it, that 3 goals is a hat trick, but there's no such term for 4 or 5 goals. Because we made a video recently, didn't we, Kaya, about golf, where you explained what all of the different bird types and why they're birds. Can you elaborate?
Yeah. So birdie, it's funny, we've been talking about slang today.
Right.
Birdie in the 19th century America a bird was saying for something good.
Yeah.
So that's where the phrase
Hey, that's so
birdie.
bird.
Yeah.
Hey, guys.
That shot was bird.
I've seen that shot. And I thought it was real bird,
Yeah.
guys.
It was
Not the bird is the word.
The bird is the word.
the bird was the good word. And then they needed something better than a bird.
Right.
So they went for an eagle.
Well, no, they needed a better bird.
Yeah.
Not better than a
Eagles
bird.
are birds.
Because
That's
eagles
true.
are
I think we
birds.
should clarify that to our audience.
That's true. Yeah, that's why Steve wrote about them flying high.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And then there's some disputes over Condor, which is the next highest one, which is 3 under par.
Yeah.
Some say it's a reference to a poem, which is where the phrase millstone around your neck comes from, and I can't remember the name of that
Oh,
poem.
that's the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, but that's the albatross, right?
That's
rather than the
yeah.
condor.
Sorry, I'm thinking albatrosses, not condors. My mistake.
Both got big wingspans. It's okay, Kaya.
Massive, thank
Both
you.
The condor
massive
has a bigger.
wingspans.
That's
Yes,
the biggest.
that's why
Condor's number
Condor
4.
is 4.
Which there's
Um,
been like a couple of in history, right? Condors.
There's been 3, I think, in
Wow.
history.
Incredible.
4 under par. What did you say? The bird and
The albatross.
is
How do you
3 under.
score? How do you score 4 under par? Like that's
Basically,
a
a
hole in
hole in
one
one
par
from a par
5.
5. Yeah, it's
That's
very
ridiculous.
high. There is technically a phrase for a 5 under. Do you want to guess what bird that is?
I know, so I won't
Yeah.
guess.
Do you guys want to guess what bird that is?
And
I
the
don't
key
know.
here
I didn't
is
know
that
what
like
condor
the
was.
Surely
birds have
that's
continued
impossible.
getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
kind of a stupid bird. You might even think it was a bird. I don't think they're capable
Is
of
it
flight,
Big
actually.
Bird off
If they're
Sesame Street?
I don't think they can fly, but like they're definitely a bird.
That's the biggest bird I can think of.
No,
Big-
but I
big
mean, you're
bird.
not far off. You think about what Big Bird looks like.
Yeah.
Oh, ostrich.
Yeah.
There you go.
Do you remember when Nigel Pearson called a journalist an ostrich?
I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, your head must be in the sand.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That was
Palace
very
were good.
strange, wasn't it?
Palace played really well in the second half, and Wharton had an interesting performance. He lost the ball a lot, but I think the context was quite interesting because obviously we've spoken in recent weeks about how quickly Palace like to attack when they get the ball, and he was trying to find Sarr in behind a lot and maybe just slightly overhitting these passes. But it reminded me that he said in the past that he could very easily have a much higher pass completion if he went for safer passes, but he likes to and is instructed to play higher risk passes to try and hurt opponents when they're at their most vulnerable. So
Again, it's what we were talking about with Manchester United, right? If you play quickly, then opponents aren't able to get into their defensive structure as quickly, and that's why I think Wharton is such an important player because he can get those passes, those progressive passes out of his feet so quickly. And I think if Wharton played for Bournemouth, they'd probably finish in the Champions League spots this season. That he's that good. So.
Well, I mean, I just want to say Steve's written here about Bournemouth. A question
he?
for you, John.
Oh, nice.
If Bournemouth are so good, asks Steve, then why didn't they manage to seal the result when they were 2-0 up?
Bournemouth were lucky to not lose that game, I would say.
Sure.
Momentum shifted in the second half. And it's, as Reuben said, it's like Mateta giveth and Mateta taketh away. Maybe the other way around.
Mateta giveth, but Man Teta taketh away.
No,
Is Man Teta a different
Mateta
person?
taketh away, but Mateta giveth is the way that
Right.
the game went. Because in the first half, he missed a few chances. I thought the game was kind of quite even in the first half. In the second half, they really lent into the fact that Mateta was just completely dominant against the centre-backs, the Bournemouth centre-backs. And so they were just quite happy as Reuben says, finding him almost as a backboard, him playing it to the 10s, shifting the ball out wide. And because, when you're playing with wing-back structure, so if your 10s are narrow and the opponent's fullbacks have to match them, so they stay narrow, it means that you're opening space in the wide areas. So I think Palace get a lot of joy in their wing-backs arriving in those spaces before the opposition wingers. And they basically just did that over and over again and caused massive, massive chances. So Bournemouth have game state management problems. We've talked about this a lot. So they go up in games and then because their whole, again, to come back to what we're talking about with Manchester United, right? If your main approach to generate chances is to destabilise, when you get into a position where you are 2 goals up, you actually don't want to destabilise, right? You want control. You want to make games less destabilised. So Bournemouth end up in these situations where they're like, oh, we're 2 goals up now, but all we can do really is keep the game speeding up, and that makes it more likely for them to be fragile. They've been a bit better. They've been a bit better at that this season for various reasons. One of which is Milos Kerkez is now making Liverpool bad in game states rather than Bournemouth. But yeah, they brought in Adrien Truffert, who I think is like fantastic. He's much better in those situations in terms of just slowing the game down and having a little bit more of a well-rounded skill set, so that he can offer something in those situations.
He's also got maybe the best name in the Premier League. Adrien Truffert.
Yeah,
come on, that sounds pretty great.
It does sound like a tasty morsel of pastry. Doesn't
All right.
it?
Well, I had some Truffert on my pasta when I was in Florence. That was really good.
Can I just say for real that Steve brought fish into the office last week, microwaved it, and genuinely, we have an open plan office. Genuinely, the whole building stank of fish for the rest of the day. People who've never met you before were asking me, can you smell fish? Like 4 hours later. And it's just because he's trying to get through his allotment of boxed fish that's sent to him on a weekly basis.
Fresh fish.
Didn't smell
and it was caught in Scotland last week.
It seemed like the sort of dish that could have been eaten cold as well.
It did.
The curry, fish curry cold, come on.
Cold fish curry sounds delicious,
You don't microwave fish.
Good Lord. Anyway, in the interests of national safety, let's stop John talking about Bournemouth. Instead, what have we got to do? We've got to talk. Hang on. Have you cut the...
Hang on.
Postecoglou? Hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on, Nick.
Have you cut Forrest sacking Postecoglou from the podcast?
Because we've got 55-ish content recorded.
Yeah.
Hovering around is the Dyche appointment.
Uh-huh.
So by the time we go out, we're probably out of date in some
I think
form.
we've got to acknowledge it though, Steve. I guess we're kind of doing that now. We should keep this.
Something didn't get cut.
Yeah. Here's what I was going to say. No one will say it, but I was going to say at 39 days, it was the second shortest managerial reign. Don't worry, Steve. Everything's going to be fine. Shh.
You got it on the script. Are you there?
Shush, Steve. Shit, everything's fine. I'm on the script. I can see it. I found it. You tried to hide it from me, but I found it. At just 39 days, Steve. It's the second shortest managerial reign in Premier League history. Nottingham Forest looking for their third manager of the season.
You sound very like Stuart Lee now.
We thought it was going to be Roberto Mancini, but it's not. But now we think it's going to be Sean Dyche, but we don't know. And also we've run out of time, and you're not sure. Maybe by the time it's announced,
Wednesday
that's going to be the
Thursday.
Case. Wednesday/Thursday.
Yeah.
Sounds okay.
Well, you did miss the first line of that script.
Which bit? Oh, the bit that says
no.
Time in charge of the tricky trees was cut short whilst it was a mere sapling.
Is that what they call it? The tricky trees?
Yeah. It's a stupid nickname, isn't
called
it?
the tricky trees.
I've never heard that.
I've never heard that.
Steve, do you just have a book of like...
It's called my brain, John. It's called my...
It's a thesaurus.
Yes.
So much worse than it's your brain.
I was reading about this at the weekend, and I just went... Sean Dyche looks like he's going to be new Forest manager. And my partner was like, not Sean Dyche, purely because of his voice on Match of the Day really annoys her.
It will be because the more you hear him, the more you do an impression of him, and the more irritating that is to her.
You're right, love.
Oh, good Lord.
Back from work. So every time he was on Match of the Day as Everton manager, she would say, cough, clear your throat.
Does anybody have a mint?
Yeah.
Well, something else that's going to get cut off the back end of this episode is that you went to Luton.
Yeah.
Well, no, because we can do that on Wednesday because we have Kaya.
We're doing that on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Something got cut.
It's so confusing, isn't it? Steve, just explain that to me
Ange
again.
got cut and now I have a job.
Oh my God. Right, we're
Hire me.
Order has been lost. You want me to finish
The tricky
now?
trees.
Points are bad.
You want me to do points are bad?
Yes.
Good Lord. All right, okay, hold on. Where's back up? Scrolling back up again.
It's a really badly ordered running order, isn't it?
It's because Steve live changes it around just to trick me out, like the tree that he is.
The tricky tree that he is.
Let's play points are bad now. I'd love to play points are bad. I can't wait to play points are bad because I'm a genuine hero. This is 2 weeks in a row that I've got a perfect score. Now, does that mean that I win the week? No, it doesn't. But it's all about making sure you get one score just on vibes.
It's like
just
manager of the month, isn't it? Like you might not win the league with your team.
Yeah, but you get manager
of the month.
Also, can I just say the prediction that I accurately got was 2-1 Man United, which is pretty good.
Which is a result that you yourself, not 30 minutes ago, said there's a world where this could have been 3-1.
But I'm always focusing on the right world. I always know I can channel the correct feelings of energy from the universe. Now, John, I think you'll be very pleased to hear that you are the winner of this week. You actually only added 3 points. That's because you'll remember that you predicted 2-1 to Nottingham Forest. Now, that was me. You predicted 2-1 to Chelsea, so you added 2 points there. And with Liverpool, Manchester United, you predicted 2-2. Not far off. Not far off. Congratulations to you.
I know ball.
Well, yeah, sort of, yeah. The 1-1 bot came joint second along with me. We both added 4. Again, perfect prediction for me, Liverpool, Manchester United. But I did predict also. I was a bit spicy last week. I thought Forest were going to win. And to my great chagrin, Ange lost his job. Now, Reuben, you also added 4, as did you, Kaya. So it was a cluster of us on 4. And then all the way out behind, JJ somehow managed to add 8 points last week. How did he do that? Oh, because he predicted 0-0 to Nottingham Forest Chelsea, so he added 3 there. And then he predicted 5-1 to Liverpool, which did not happen.
Sticking to the bit.
Well, that is the case, of course, because ever since JJ Bull predicted that Liverpool would win all of their upcoming games up to Real Madrid, I believe they are yet to do anything other than
lose. And it was definitely just him that predicted that.
That's right, Reuben.
Well.
No one else said it as well. That's absolutely fine. We did laugh, though, that you both said that you thought Brentford was the game that they might struggle with. That's the one coming up, so I'm certain they'll win that. Now, what are we going to do? That means that JJ, who's not here, is he outside?
No, he's not outside, but we can call him.
Well, I better get JJ on the phone there, Steve, because JJ lost this week, and he needs to pick first.
Hello.
Hello, JJ.
Hi.
Hi there, how's it going, buddy?
Oh, yes.
Do you know that you're the loser of this week's Points Are Bad?
That seems impossible.
Well, sadly, it's not. You added 8 points. And interestingly enough for you, you're very lucky to be the loser this week because I'm away next week and then I'm away the week after. Steve and I have decided to just do 1 game per game week for that time that I'm away and this week and do all 3 of them now. So the next time that we'll hear back in about Points Are Bad will be in about 3 weeks' time, which means you're lucky because you get to pick first for all of those game weeks regardless of the results. Are you excited about that?
Yes, very. That sounds great. I'll think of some good scores.
Okay, cool. Well, let me tell you then that for game week 9, the fixture is Arsenal Crystal Palace. For game week 10, it's Tottenham Chelsea, and for game week 11, it's Man City Liverpool.
Oh, those are all good games.
So let's start with game week 9. Arsenal Crystal Palace.
Arsenal Palace 0-0.
Game week 10, Tottenham Chelsea.
Tottenham Chelsea 0-0.
Game week 11, Man City Liverpool.
Is anyone else taking a score yet?
No, just you to go. You can pick whatever you want. You could have 2-1 or...
You've got you at your own game there. You live by the hang-up, you die by the hang-up. That's what I've always said.
JJ's in last place, 46 points. I'm just behind, 38 points. That means that even though we shared the scores this week, I get to go next. So, lucky me. It's not a coincidence. It is a coincidence that we've picked 3 weeks in a row, the week where I get to do this, despite the fact that I had a perfect prediction. Okay, Arsenal Crystal Palace.
So 0-0 is taken. Just for the whole game.
0-0's taken for the whole game. Okay, game week 9, Arsenal Crystal Palace. One of the reasons we picked this is because it's just such a tricky, fascinating fixture. I'm quite excited to predict for it. I actually think Arsenal are going to win 2-1.
How dare you?
And I think, again, like in the same way that they very quietly went about winning this week and are just striving further and further on to the title, I think that's going to happen next week. And that suddenly people are going to start talking about it because beating Crystal Palace at the current time is rather a big victory. Game week 10, Tottenham-Chelsea. I think Chelsea are going to win that 2-1. And I think that's about the time when we're going to start to have a different conversation about Spurs. The same one that we had last week, but in general, a different conversation. That's a brag. And then game week 11,
Cigar.
Man City, Liverpool. I think I'm just straight up predicting 2-2 for that.
Oh.
I think that's going to be an open game with a number of goals. I think that's going to be 2-2.
I love that you use the word straight up there. So straight up. So it's straight up.
It's going to be a peak game. Now, who predicts next? Well, according to the overall, Reuben, you're third last on 37 points, so you get to predict next, which means that we're hearing from you it's quite tricky to keep scrolling up and down. Okay, got it. Game week 9, Arsenal, Crystal Palace, Reuben.
Well, I would have wanted... what I actually think will happen is what you've predicted.
2-1 Arsenal.
Yeah. But, being the guy that I am... I'm going to predict Arsenal 1, Crystal Palace 2.
Fair enough. Okay. Game week 10, Tottenham-Chelsea.
What did you pick?
I picked 2-1 Chelsea.
Can I have 0-1 Chelsea?
You absolutely can. Yeah. And then game week 11, Man City-Liverpool.
Manchester City 2, Liverpool 1.
Yeah. Okay. The scores are getting tougher as we go. Kaya, you're next up on 36. So Arsenal, Crystal Palace, game week 9.
It's hard.
It is hard. It's really hard.
So is 2-2 available?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go for that.
Wow. Oh, well, John's going for 1-0 then.
Yeah.
Game week 10, Tottenham-Chelsea.
I think this is the kind of game where Thomas Frank's sort of containment tactics will actually work quite well against Chelsea, who tried to keep the ball. So 1-0 Spurs.
Right. Okay, and game week 11, Man City, Liverpool.
That's hard again. So remind me, sorry, what's gone?
2-1's gone, 2-2's gone, 0-0's gone.
2-1 to who?
Man City.
Okay, I'll go 3-2 to Manchester City.
I think we're all being biased off the weekend, right? Just because Liverpool have been so bad for a few games in a row. All right, John, it's all down to you. Game week 9, Arsenal Palace.
I will go Arsenal 2, Palace 0.
Okay.
I don't feel particularly confident in that, but I think there's not really much else left for me.
I would go for 1-0 if it were me, but at this point...
Yeah, but I think if it's going to be 1-0, then they'll pick up a goal at the end when Palace are pushing. So that's what I'll go with 2. Yeah, but you'll score a set piece, and then at the end, they'll bring on Kai Havertz and he'll score, and everyone will be like, oh, they should be playing him instead of Gyökeres. I know how this goes. This is not my first game.
It's the one team where like the standard expectation is bucked, I think, where they're 1-up 35 minutes in, Palace start to push out more and more. Any other normal team would score a second goal, Arsenal don't.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Game week 10, Tottenham-Chelsea.
Yeah, I kind of like Kaya's logic on this, but what's gone? 2-1 and 1-0 to Chelsea, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you went 1-0 to Tottenham?
Yeah.
I'm going to go 2-0 Chelsea.
Okay.
And again, I don't really like that, but here we are.
Man City, Liverpool. Game
I'm going to go Liverpool. Liverpool 2-1 has been taken.
No.
I'll go with that then.
Liverpool 2-1 is available. All right, fantastic. Oh, that's an exciting one, isn't it? So that also means we won't do the scores or the tallies for the next few weeks. The next time that we pick up points are bad, it will be in 3 weeks' time, and we'll be able to. We'll be adding some big scores potentially because there's 50% more games to play for here. So next time you hear the scoreline, will be deep into November. But that's it for now. Thanks, Reuben.
Thank you,
John. Kaya.
Cheers.
Steve.
Thank you.
See you later. Oh, yeah, and I'm not here for a couple of weeks, right? Did I say that already?
Yeah, but we can say that more on Wednesday, Thursday.
Oh, Wednesday, Thursday.
Second show, Joe.
I forgot about Wednesday, Thursday.